Welcome to Open BXRx on BronxNet. I'm your host, Sonyi Lopez, inviting you to get social with us at BronxNet TV on Instagram and Twitter, and BronxNet Community Television on Facebook. To better understand the history of racial injustice and how it affects communities of color today, United Way of Central Indiana is hosting a 4-part series of virtual discussions titled Understanding the Roots of Racism. Joining us now to discuss is CEO of United Way of Central Indiana, Ann Murtlow. Ann, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Sonyi. So nice to be with you.
Nice being with you as well. Thank you. So first to start off, Ann, for people who are not familiar, can you tell us a little bit about UWCI and your mission?
Sure. Well, our mission is to make Central Indiana a place where we're proud of the quality of life for all of our residents. And we know we've got a long way to go. We cover 6 counties, and we have the richest county in the state and some of the greatest poverty in the state, everything from urban poverty to rural poverty to suburban poverty. We know from our research that we have in our poverty and struggling families, which is families living up to 200% of the poverty level, those families are disproportionately represented by families of color.
Right. So, and we're miles away from each other. BronxNet is based in the Bronx, and I know UWCI is part of United Way Worldwide, and there's a branch here in New York as well. But I reached out to United Way Central Indiana to promote your upcoming event. And the fortunate aspect of the virtual world we live in today is that we get to connect and attend events no matter where we are. So with that being said, Ann, please tell us more about UWCI's upcoming Understanding Roots of Racism virtual series and how this event is not only for Indiana, but also relevant for cities nationwide, like here in the Bronx.
One of the ways that United Way stabilizes families is to focus on basic needs. And when we talk about basic needs, we're really talking about hunger, housing, transportation, and health, because those are things that people need to be able, they need to have those before they can really even focus on growth and really building their economic stability to a greater level, right? Their financial stability to a greater level. So when we decided to do the Roots of Racism series, we decided to focus on those 4 areas, and that's why it's a 4-part series. So what we wanted to do was we wanted to say to members of the public in our area, let's first understand how we got to where we are. And so we're taking each of those 4 areas and we're saying, let's talk about health first. So that's the one that's coming up on Wednesday. And we're saying, let's look at health in our area and look at the health disparities. And how did we get here over history? The policies and procedures and practices that were put in place over decades that led us to a place where we have all these disparities in health outcomes. And it's not just about COVID, but certainly COVID has spread really shined a bright light on the fact that we have health disparities, right? But there are historical facts that are involved, right? There are historical facts that have resulted in a lack of trust in the healthcare system, that have resulted in food deserts and food insecurity, and poor nutrition, and all kinds of things that have led over time to really disparate health incomes. And it's very complicated, but until you can understand exactly why you ended up here and what the situation on the ground is, you really can't understand, number one, how not to repeat the mistakes of the past, and really understand where you are so you know how you have to get to a better place going forward. And then for our donors and other members in the community that want to work together to make things better, we really want to be able to put our arms around the community and say, let's work together and let's see how we can do that with advocating, giving, and volunteering to really make this a place where we're proud of the quality of life for all of our residents going forward.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing, Ann. As we know, some of us know, Indianapolis state and local governments are among 20 other cities and counties who have declared racism as a public health crisis. How have things changed in your city after this action?
Well, I would like to say that we're having a lot more conversation, and I think that's really true. We're having a lot more conversation at every level: government organizations, corporate organizations, nonprofit organizations. And I think that there's a greater sense of urgency than there was before. That's not to say that there wasn't a lot going on before, but there certainly is a greater sense of urgency than there was before. I think, I do think that there has been a greater awakening, if you will, when it comes to police violence.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we can certainly have an argument over whether or not that's reasonable that it took so long for that to happen. I certainly think that the fact that it was so visible on social media, in so many cases from so many places in rapid succession, made a big difference in this case. And I think, I think whatever it was that made it happen this time, there are many more people who are saying this is a priority, and it is getting attention. I still don't think it's a quick fix, but I do think that it's going to take time, and there are enough people in enough places that are working on it that have the ability to change things, that I'm hopeful.
Right. Going back to UWCI's commitment to supporting and hearing the community amid protests, civil unrest, and demonstrations, can you just tell us a little bit more about it? And
Well, you know, we have not only the ability to do work through community investment, but we also do have public policy capabilities and advocacy capabilities. So, you know, we do things like, we're a human services organization. So, you know, we do things like advocate for education. One of our big activities has been over the last few years to really advocate for quality early childhood education, pre-K. You know, Indiana is one of a handful of states that does not have pre-K for all families, state-sponsored pre-K for all families, high-quality pre-K. In fact, only a small percentage of our low-income families even have access to high-quality pre-K. And so it's something that we've been building capacity for and advocating that the state actually pay for. And we've been doing a good job on that, but we still have a long way to go. That is something absolutely critical to the success of our children long-term. And we're going to continue to do that. While advocating for police reform is probably not something we will ever lead on, because we're not in the best position to be successful in leading on. There are other organizations like the Urban League, for example, that would be better positioned to lead on that. That is something that we would be positioned to support on. And that's something that we would be prepared to do.
thank you, Ann. Going back to the Understanding Roots of Racism event, what does UWCI hope people can gain from participating in these important discussions?
Well, again, I think it's important for folks to understand. I think that there are a lot of people who, number one, may never have known the historical perspective, or if they did know, have forgotten some of those policies, procedures, the experimentation on Black communities and Puerto Rican communities from the past that led to some deep mistrust in the medical system. If we talk about that first session on health, redlining when we talk about housing, those kinds of policies that will help to understand how we got to sort of the neighborhoods that we have right now that have pockets of deep poverty, that are predominantly Black and brown neighborhoods, neighborhoods, frankly, that a lot of people don't see every day. And neighborhoods that we really do need to shine a bright light on, because the fact is that there are two worlds right now. There are worlds many of us don't live in every day, and neighborhoods that it is too easy not to see. I think we do need to see them, because we can't know what we don't see. And we have to see them in order to be able to help.
Right. And what will the virtual series look like? You know, you have panelists, but will there be opportunity for Q&As? How would it work out?
What we're going to do, there won't be opportunity for Q&A. They're going to be moderated. So this first one is going to have 4 experts, local experts. So we'll have Marion County is where Indianapolis sits. So the director of the Marion County Health Department is Dr. Virginia Kane. She will be a panelist. We will have Carl Ellison, who is the Minority Health Coalition CEO. We will have Dr. Ram Yaleti, who is the Physicians Executive for Community Health Network, one of our hospital systems, who is a cardiologist and also one of the foremost experts in the treatment of COVID-19 as well. And then we have one other panelist, and let me come back to that because I'm going to remember who that is Senator Jean Breaux. Who's one of our legislators, right? And then it's going to be moderated by United Way of Central Indiana's VP of Community Impact Data and Analytics. So she does all of our poverty research and analytics. So it's going to be a wonderful panel. It's only an hour long. It's all virtual. We have about 1,600 people signed up for it already. And then we will follow up with additional resources so that people will be able to learn more.
Right.
And then encourage them also to join the series, because people will also find out that these are not silos. Yeah. They are deeply interconnected. So if you followed any of the work on social determinants of health, for example, you find out that these are all connected.
Right. And this show is going to be airing after the first series starts. So folks will probably not have the opportunity to learn about it prior. People that live here in the Bronx anyway. But we will still be promoting the other 3 series. Let's say someone can't tune in for the first one. Will there be a re-airing on UWCI's page? How can people tune in after?
I do believe they will be recorded. So I think there will be an opportunity to be able to hear a recorded session of all 4 of the sessions.
All righty. Thank you so much for your time today. And just to finish off, how can people stay connected and also tune in to this event?
UWCI.org. All the information will be right on that. And if you just search for UWCI.org Roots of Racism, you can find all of the information right there. Thank you so much for your interest in this. I know this is about Central Indiana, but this information is really relevant to any community.
It is. It is. You brought up redlining, you brought up transportation, housing. These are all things that we are also, all social determinants that we are also really worried about here in the Bronx. A lot of inequities happening here in our borough as well. And there are discussions surrounding this, but I believe understanding the roots of racism kind of compiled everything together. And this is something that we're definitely interested in learning more about, even if it's miles away.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you, Ann. Folks, again, for more information and to join United Way of Central Indiana's virtual series, Understanding the Roots of Racism, visit their website, uwci.org, and click Register today. Open BXRx will be right back.